The wedding venue was a beach resort on the outskirts of Lagos. Remy and Shalwa had organized 3 days of fun activities for their friends. They arrived ahead of the rest of the family, who would join them a day before the wedding. Babs and Darren were there, and Kemi was there with her friend Moyo and her husband Ola. Emeka and his wife, along with a couple of their friends, were also present. As each guest arrived, the resort staff assigned them rooms, and on that first day, everyone gathered at the beach. There were enough drinks and snacks and, of course, music and games. Everyone was having a great time and enjoying the ambience of the resort. Kemi made an effort to avoid Babs and Darren, a fact noticed by Babs, who remained calm. He resolved to seek her out later and have a conversation with her. Darren keenly watched Kemi and her deliberate effort to avoid Babs. Despite Kemi's efforts, her paths crossed with Babs a couple of times, and the undeniable connection between them was evident, as unspoken glances revealed the unresolved tension boiling beneath the surface. As the evening wore on, the guests gradually made their way back to their rooms. Eventually, only Kemi and Moyo remained, engrossed in catching up on life in New York after Moyo's return to Nigeria. Choosing to clear his head with a walk on the beach, Babs coincidentally ran into Kemi and her friend. Determined to address the tension between them, he initiated a conversation. After Moyo excused herself, they found themselves seated alone. The air crackled with anticipation as they sat in silence, surrounded by the sea and the sound of waves. Kemi. Babs's voice was a whisper. We need to talk. We have nothing to say to each other. Babs sighed, a mixture of regret and understanding clouding his features. Kemi. I've carried the weight of what happened between us for 10 years, and even though life took us in different directions, you were never far from my mind. Kemi's heart quickened, and she remained quiet, her eyes fixed ahead. The air seemed charged with the weight of unspoken words. Babs's eyes held a mixture of emotions, regret, longing, and an undeniable warmth that time had failed to erase. I'm sorry for hurting your feelings 10 years ago. I know that rejecting you was very embarrassing for you. You expressed your feelings for me, and I was mean. Well, you made it clear that night that you felt nothing for me. I lied, Kemi. You don't understand. I wanted you to stay. What did you say? I wanted you to stay that night, Kemi, but you were only 17 and my best friend's sister. It took all my willpower to send you away. I was ready to damn the consequences and be with you, but it would have been disastrous. But no one would have known, Kemi said. Babs responded, have you forgotten Remy almost caught us? I might have been a bit of a rebel, but you were different. Despite the 8 years between us, I was drawn to you. You were. Yes, but all that is in the past now. I just want you to forgive me and hope that we can be friends again. Are you saying you don't have feelings for me anymore? What does it matter? I'm marrying Darren by the end of the year. Well, it matters to me because I thought I had gotten over you until I saw you at the engagement party. I'm sorry, Kemi. You and I can't be together. Why not? I have a fiancé. A fiancé you don't love. As long as you both are not married, I have a chance. Look, Kemi, I'm being groomed to take over my parents' church. And what I need is a woman like Darren, who is a pastor and understands spiritual things. What about your brothers? Tay is the one who always wanted to be a pastor. Why can't he take over from your father? Father believes, as his first son, it's my responsibility. Well, I may not be a pastor, but I am a believer. You, Kemi, he laughed. Did they bind your hands and legs and ask you to say the salvation prayer? Kemi chuckled. Is that what you think of me? You are too strong-headed and willful. I just don't see you in that light. So, what you're saying is that you will put the church over your happiness. It is called duty. I don't have a choice, he became sober. I'm sorry, Kemi. I guess then, there is nothing more to say between us. Kemi stood up and walked away. Babs watched her leave, and even though his heart was breaking and he longed to follow her, he knew it was futile. Kemi arrived late for dinner and sat in a corner with her friends. Everyone was having fun. Remy and Shalwa's friends were sharing stories from their past. Babs and Emeka sat on the same table with Remy and Shalwa. Amid the festivities, Kemi observed the interactions between Babs and his fiancée. It was obvious theirs wasn't a love match, it was arranged, a thing of duty rather than passion. Yet, beneath the surface, Kemi detected a vulnerability in Babalola's eyes, as if he, too, struggled against the constraints imposed by his impending marriage. Babs and Kemi exchanged stolen glances. Their eyes met like magnets, drawn together by a force that defied explanation. At some point, Abiodun Khalil walked into the room. Despite not having seen him for years, Kemi could still recognize him. He appeared even more handsome than before. While Babs was the bad boy, Abiodun was the original rebel, sexy, soft-spoken, and persistent. With a Lebanese and Nigerian mixed heritage, he stood tall and handsome, commanding attention whenever he entered a room, causing boyfriends to fade into the background while girls flocked to him. There was a subtle competition between Abiodun and Babs. When one expressed interest in a girl, the other would try to win her over first. As he made his way through the hall, all eyes turned toward him. A group of women immediately surrounded him. He acknowledged Remy with a nod, winked at Emeka, and glared at Babs. Obviously their rivalry was still on. After taking a seat, Abiodun scanned the room. His gaze landed on Kemi, and he smiled. At that moment, the man sitting next to Kemi stood up and left the hall. Abiodun seized the opportunity and took the vacant seat beside her. "This must be Tiny, Remy's little sister," he remarked. "Hi, Abiodun. Wow, you're no longer tiny. You've grown into a beautiful woman. I can confidently say that no woman in this room can hold a candle to you. Abiodun, flattery will get you nowhere. I'm serious. You've become the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. When I heard you were back, I knew I had to be here to see my crush." "Oh, Abiodun, the last I heard, you were married. Is your wife not here tonight?" Kemi asked. "No, we're going through a divorce." "Sorry to hear that." While Abiodun and Kemi conversed, Remy, Emeka, and Babs scrolled at him. But given Babs' earlier confession, it's obvious he was feeling jealous as well. There's an untold story behind this. Back then Abiodun liked Kemi, but Remy and his friend ensure he kept his distance from her. If he were talking to Kemi, one of them would show up and either drag her away or try to intimidate him. Not that he's easily intimidated, but he understands the dynamics of the game. Despite Babs being a pastor, a departure from his former game-playing days, the intensity in the look he gave Abiodun suggested he was ready to strangle him. So Kemi decided to leverage their history. When Abiodun invited her to dance, she accepted, differing from her usual strategy of avoiding him due to his reputation. They danced repeatedly and spent the rest of the evening together. At a point when Abiodun left to get a drink, Remy came over. "What are you doing?" "Enjoying myself at your dinner party," Kemi replied. "You know what I'm talking about. We're just having fun. You have a boyfriend. Look, relax, big brother, I can take care of myself." "No, you can't. Abiodun is way out of your league." "I will be careful." Abiodun returned, Hey Rem, welcome to the married club. You are getting a divorce, Abiodun, so you are in no position to welcome me to the club. He glanced over at Shalwa. Your babe looks like she is one of the good ones. Let's hope you can keep her. That's none of your business. What are you doing with my sister? Remy, will you stop that? Kemi warned. Stay out of this, Kemi. Hey, chill, man. Your sister is no longer a teenager. She's a full-grown woman who can make her own decisions. Right, Kemi love? Abiodun asked. Come on, Abiodun, let's go dance, she said, giving her brother a bombastic side eye. As Abiodun moved to follow Kemi, Remy restrained him. My sister is still off limits to you. I'll be watching you tonight, and I know you don't want to be on my wrong side. Relax, guy. I was never afraid of you, and I'm still not. Abiodun shrugged off Remy's hand and followed Kemi to the dance floor. Babs was having a terrible night. Seeing Kemi with Abiodun churned his stomach, coupled with Darren watching him keenly and policing him everywhere. Babs knew in his heart that Kemi was the one for him. However, he thought it wouldn't work due to too much opposition. Despite telling himself to stay away from her after their earlier talk, his heart refused to accept that. When she entered the resort's dining room like a goddess, he sensed trouble looming. One part of his mind urged him to leave, retreat to his hotel room, pack his bags, and head back home. However, with Abiodun's presence, he decided to stay. Abiodun was trouble, far out of Kemi's league. He made a conscious decision to keep a close watch on her. Babs noticed the subtle warning signals Remy directed at Abiodun as he conversed with him. Abiodun was smart enough not to cross paths with Remy, but Kemi, on the other hand, was a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. No one could control her, not even Remy, and that independent spirit was one of the things he always admired about her. At a certain moment during the dinner party, Kemi found herself alone. She locked eyes with Babs and abruptly left the hall. Babs, as if in a trance, followed after her. As he emerged from the hall, Kemi seized him and dragged him to a secluded corner by the hallway. What are you doing, Kemi? He inquired. Dance with me, she insisted. I don't think that's a good idea. Just one dance, Babs. Is that too much to ask? Kemi, please. You know you want to dance with me, Babs. Just one dance, please. In his heart, Babs knew he wanted to anyway. He drew her into his arms, initially leaving some space between them. However, as they danced, they gradually closed the gap until they were holding each other closely. Overwhelmed in Babs' embrace, Kemi couldn't resist and kissed him. He reciprocated the kiss eagerly, savoring her sweetness like a thirsty man. Even when Kemi withdrew, he pulled her in again, kissing her hungrily. After a while, Kemi stepped away, gazing into his eyes, and remarked, "That's a taste of what you are giving up." Attempting to walk away, Babs pulled her back into his arms and kissed her hard. Kemi pulled away once more and walked away. Babs was left frustrated by his unfulfilled desire and berated himself for being weak around Kemi. Hurriedly, he sought refuge in the restroom to regain composure. While there, he struggled with guilt. He felt like he cheated on Darren with Kemi. The thought of Darren finding out weighed heavily on him. Despite resolving to be more careful, he knew that if Kemi attempted to seduce him again, he might still succumb. After washing his hands and ensuring his appearance was presentable, he stepped out of the restroom and ran into Darren looking for him. She was trying to summon up the courage to enter the male toilet when Babs emerged. She had been looking for both Babs and Kemi, who were absent from the hall. She rushed out to find them, hoping to find them in a compromising position. Is she in there? Who? Kemi. The two of you are missing from the party. Before Babs could respond, she barged into the male restroom and searched every corner. Finding no sign of Kemi, she emerged and told Babs, "I have my eyes on you both. You're getting paranoid. We'll see." She walked back to the party, and Babs followed suit. Returning to the hall, Kemi was nowhere to be found, but Abiodun was present. Babs concluded that Kemi had retired for the night. It seemed that Darren, noticing Kemi's absence from the hall, informed Babs that she would like to leave. Babs accompanied Darren to her room, wished her a good night, and then returned to the hall. He had a mission. Darren, on entering her room, immediately placed a call to someone. "I almost caught them tonight," she admitted. Then what happened? They were both missing from the party at some point. I couldn't find them, and when I did, it was only Babs I saw. But I am so sure they were together. I thought that finally we had the evidence we needed, but we are not quite there. Well, you need to understand the importance of getting him in a compromising situation. If we miss this opportunity, we may not get another. I understand. I will try my best. After that, Darren continued to talk to the person for a long time. Back in the hall, Babs approached Abiodun and dragged him outside. "Hey guy, what's your problem?" Abiodun questioned. "Stay away from her." "And if I don't, what will you do?" "You will not add her to your list of conquest." Babs applauded him. "Bravo, Pastor Babalola Animation. Does your fiancé know you have a thing for your best friend's sister?" "Don't push me, Abiodun. You have been warned." "As who? Her brother or her boyfriend?" "You are nothing to Kemi, understand that, Babs. Kemi is a grown woman and will choose to do what she wants. I suggest you concentrate on your future wife." "Excuse me, I need to get back to what I was doing before I was interrupted." Feeling helpless, Babs recognized he had no right over Kemi. As he left, he rubbed the back of his head, overwhelmed with frustration. Everything seemed to be unfolding in the wrong way this weekend, and he wasn't sure if he could survive the rest of the weekend. "I never thought I would see the day." Babs paused in his stride, turning to find his friend Emeka leaning against the wall, watching him. "What are you yapping about?" "I never thought I would see the day a woman would bring the indomitable Babalola Animasahan to his knees. You, feeling all flustered over a woman." "Emeka, not now, please. I think God is punishing you for all the women whose hearts you broke. Yeah, it's payback time because I can see you are suffering. Tiny has you wrapped around her little finger, and it doesn't seem like there is anything you can do about it. Even your engagement to Darren couldn't stop what you feel for her." As they spoke, two ladies approached Babs, attempting to pull him back into the hall to dance with them, but he managed to dismiss them. Emeka chuckled. "I suggest you go to bed before you get yourself into more trouble, because you don't look good at all," Emeka laughed. "I can see you are having fun laughing at me. I will get you back." Kemi felt a sense of contentment as she parted ways with Babs. Deciding to call it a night, she retreated to her room. The warmth of his embrace lingered in her thoughts. It felt incredibly comforting. She was determined to capture his attention and make him choose her over Darren. She was stubborn in her pursuit. That night, Babs couldn't sleep. Recalling Emeka's words, He pondered whether God could indeed be punishing him for his past lifestyle. Despite having renounced that life, his conscience pricked him. He acknowledged that his feelings for Kemi and his recent behavior towards her were not befitting of a child of God. Determined to address this internal conflict, he decided to pray and seek the guidance of the Holy Spirit. He knew he was obsessed with her and close to falling into sin, and he does want that. After attempting to pray, he lay down to sleep, but the image of the kiss tormented him, and he didn't have a good night's sleep. He woke up feeling tired, but more resolved to stay away from Kemi. She is trouble,